perspective and all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome back to the inaugural season of Sim Racers Group Formula 3 Racing on SMB. JR Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, my partner, Charles Bochelle, and tonight's producer, the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Braun. After back-to-back wins by Adam Thompson and Imola and Gilles Villeneuve, we're back across the pond to our third consecutive Formula 1 track, Spa-Francorchamps. The track is located in the Belgian countryside outside the municipality of Stavelot. Began life as a racing circuit comprised of strictly public roads, hosting its first race back in 1922. And you heard that right, over 100 years of racing history here at Spa. In 1924, the first 24-hour race was held, and in 1925, 100 years ago, the first Grand Prix. And the track is, of course, currently host to Formula One, the World Endurance Championship, and the European Le Mans Series, along with a full slate of amateur track days. The current configuration, 4.3 miles, 7 clicks, 20 corners, and our current track record is a 144.7, pulled off by Checo in a Red Bull F1 car back in 2024. So, Charles, these F1 cars and their drivers have been performing absolutely beautifully so far in this young season. And tonight, we're going to let them off their leashes for some killer drafting and long straightaways. So what are your keys to tonight's race?
Yeah, JR, it's going to be a fantastic race. And tonight's keys are, as you said, The massive drafting is going to keep the cars close for a while until we start seeing some mistakes by some of the drivers. That'll cause some natural breaks, but as long as everybody is racing clean, that those cars will stay close together, packed up. Second, off tracks and time penalties. You got to watch the slowdowns here. It's real easy to ruin your momentum by just taking Eau Rouge or Radeon just a little wide. You'll end up getting that 7/10 of a second slowdown, which feels like it takes a half an hour to reel off. So you have to be very careful. That's a quick way to go from a good position to the mid pack, which is not where you want to be. Finally, you have to watch out for debris. We're going to have some cars that are kind of expanding the track limits a little bit. They'll end up in the gravel and bring some of that back onto the track, which will make some of those corners pretty rough. And I think those are the three big keys to today's race.
Yeah, definitely a lot of kitty litter around here. There's a significant motorcycle schedule here at Spa, and those deep gravel traps designed to give those cyclists a break when they have problems. And one more thing I want to mention here, Charles, you mentioned the draft and these long straightaways. Another very important thing to master here at Spa, and the Kemmel Straight is a good example as we watch these two cars. Yeah, head down the, no, I'm completely wrong, but the Kemmel Straight, these cars are going to get the draft, and you're always going to have the draft. You're always going to have a speed advantage. And for the car in front, it's very easy to defend by covering the inside. So we're going to see a lot of inside defenses into Lacombe's and also coming off of Blanchimont heading into the bus stop. So the key to success here at Spa is mastering the outside move into both of those corners. It is possible with a car covering the inside in front of you to take the outside line, break deep, and beat your competitor to the second apex. And I promise you that you're going to see it here tonight. It is absolute necessity to claim any kind of mastery here at Spa Francorchamps. And hey, iRacing developers, I would love it if I could set up a test session and throw down some cones and cone off that inside entry into Lacombe and practice that. It would be a great teaching tool. So I know that iRacing developers are out there and they're hanging on my every word. So you should expect to see those cones added to iRacing sometime in the very near future. But yeah, this is going to be a fantastic race. And I threw down some laps out here, Charles, and the one other thing I wanted to mention, these cars are very, very grippy. They have significant aero, significant mechanical grip, but I was a little surprised at some wiggling through Puhan. I was expecting these cars to be completely hooked up. I just lifted a little and turned in, and it went from Puhan to holy Puhan. So we're going to keep an eye on the action through there. These cars much more loose in the rear end than I was expecting. It may be related to the setup. I don't know. It's a fixed setup situation. Might be a little bit too much rear bar or not enough wing, but there was some unexpected excitement for me in Puhan. And these cars are pretty slippy, pretty slidey. We saw that at Imola, and I think learning to drive with some significant slip angle is just a fact of life with these F3 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at that entry, that's a pretty good run through there by Jason Totcher. Is that outside line has got the that curbing that's got like that little drainage. You can see it right there on the right hand side of your screen. Got a little drainage area in that curb, and if you get over into that on that right side curb, especially coming down into Puhan, it is a little difficult. So you have to be careful through there. The curbs are not generally a factor here, but you still have to treat them with some respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Track limits critical here, as you already discussed. And the practice session winding down now. We're going to launch into a 15-minute open qualifying. And I think I hear Mike telling me he wants to show the points. And there they are. I already mentioned Adam Thompson, back-to-back victories, sitting up top with 103 points. And notably, Thompson not in attendance tonight or next time, I understand. So going to give a little breathing room to a couple other competitors. Case, Mikovits, I'm looking at you, Eggert, Poborgi, De Silva. They're all going to have an opportunity to collect some points here without Thompson hogging the top of the the top of the standings. I'm sorry, Mike, could you scroll that back up as I was blabbing away there? I didn't read the the standings, but there they are. Yeah, Thompson, Case for Mikovic is your top three. Then Jason Green, Eggert, Poborji, Tyrone De Silva, Jason Kocher, Josh Corwin, and Skylar Vickroy are your top 10. Then it's Duval, Oladipo, Velasco, Aaron Van Wagner, Lebivi, Grinsky, Dylan, and Diego Posada will take us to 18. And a lot of cars in this class. Chris Cook, Jeff Silja, Tom Brashear, then Conway, Adrian Lopez, Wang, Cardenas, Ganesh, Trantham, and Snyder bringing up the rear right now in P28. And our last car on the list to have any points, there's two more, Molina and Varun Bali, and the remaining cars there, you can read through yourself, no points scored, and that could be just because those drivers showed up for practice sessions but didn't participate in the actual F3 event. So here we go, Charles, and open qualifying underway, and another big shout out to the organizers of this league. I love open qualifying. It's realistic. It adds another layer of strategy, and especially at a track like this, if you get a lucky toe down that Kemmel straight, you're going to take a half second or second off of your qualifying time, and it's there's no way that that's not going to play a role in what happens in quali here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. As we talked about, race strategy all the time. There's always strategy involved in racing, but this is a time when you really have to have some strategy in qualifying. You got to pick the right time to get on your hot lap. You got to hope that you got maybe a car or two in front that can give you some draft that you can make time up on without necessarily being caught up by them through a corner somewhere. So a lot of qualifying strategy playing out here. As you can see, the line is already starting to grow there. You had 4 or 5 cars that are within draft range, so you'll get a nice toe. That guy that's sitting back there in the third car in that triad in the middle is going to have just all kinds of drafts to help him up the hill. But you got to have a good run through Eau Rouge and Radion before you can get on the Kemmel straight. So you got to set the car up here, get through that compression area, over the crest, and then fly out here and up Kemmel straight to see what you can see how you can get your lap started. And you see Skylar Victor's got the personal best in the second win, probably his first lap out there. But we'll start seeing the lap times come in. I think the furthest one out right now is about the midway point. Jason Green about the midway point on his first lap.
Watching Eggert right now, he is within draft range of the car ahead. Looks like that is Snyder up in front of him about 3/10. So we'll get to see Snyder's car give Eggert a little toe here, and a little bit too much curve. That's part of the new scan here at Spa. They added that big anti-cut curve right there. I kind of like it because I've had problems with the turn in on that corner, and that gives you a nice target for turn in. And here's Eggert having no problems through Puhan. So possibly a remote possibility, but possibly my own bad driving was causing me problems there. But we'll hang with Eggert here coming down toward the latter part of the lap. Woo, little wiggle there, and he's going to head down into Compass. And right here is a critical corner to get a good exit. This is really the start of that final back straight that ends up in the bus stop. So really critical corner right there. One of those hidden corners that is so far back that you wouldn't think it makes a big difference, but it really does. You got to get a good drive out of there. They've widened the entry to this to Blanchimont right there. You didn't see Eggert take advantage of it, but you can set up a little further to the right. Takes a little bit of the drama and trauma out of Blanchimont, and these cars are absolutely flat through there. No lift. Keep it pinned. It does wiggle a little. You got to be ready to catch it, and ooh, a crash there in the bus stop. Don't like to see that in qualifying. Like I say, the cars are a little looser than you might expect. They're also flat through Eau Rouge up at the top of the hill here. But again, you got to be ready with quick hands opposite lock to catch it if it gets a little loose.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of those cars that's surprising that the level of downforce that suddenly all of a sudden just kind of goes away here and there. So you have to be very careful, be able to have quick hands, catch those slides as you encounter them. But I think most of these guys have got a good handle on it. JR, I won't pick on you because skill issue is always the last excuse for the driver, right? We never want to say it's a skill issue problem. It's always we got a bad setup, or tires weren't prepped right. It's always something else other than just not being able to get through a corner.
Yeah, and time's coming in now, just starting, and I sometimes get perplexed by the start finisher. The start line and finish line are in different places depending on the track configuration, but we are getting sometimes currently Eggert from green, from De Silva up top, followed by Vicroy and Bali, and they're the pole man right now. Eggert is running a 2:12.6, and I think we're going to see those times significantly quicker. I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing some 2:11s by the time this one is done. And yeah, I see these cars kind of piling up there a little bit on the entrance to Lacombe. Probably not going to want to pull passes on people during qualifying, just kind of as a matter of courtesy. So, but we are going to see some contested entries into that corner tonight, to be sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was couldn't remember the guys. Lopez, I think, was the third car in line there and picked up 2/10 coming up the hill on the car in front. And just basically, there's Bali around. I'm just going to say that's a little bit of brake lockup as he was coming down there in the bus stop chicane. So obviously, there's going to be significant tenths of seconds gained by being in the draft here. And once again, it's always just about timing, about getting the run at the right time with the right cars around you. And we'll see who ends up getting it. It's Vicroy, Eggert, Green, 2/10 of a second separating the top three. And my guess is we'll have, I don't know, probably 15 or so cars within a second of pole by the time it's all done.
Yeah, I imagine that's right. And as we watch them go through La Source, which is that hairpin right before this long straightaway, it is an absolute blast attacking that corner in these cars. I'm used to driving GT3 cars, a little heavier, a little pretty similar power to weight ratio, but not a lot of mechanical grip at those low speeds. And these cars, you can just shoot through Lacombe in kind of an alarming pace, and it's really helps you get a run. Just like any other corner before a long straight, Lacombe critical to get a good drive out of there, and you can go through there a lot faster than I was used to as a GT3 driver.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, that's kind of one of the hidden things that a lot of these open wheel guys don't think about is sometimes the fastest way through that corner is, or to get a good run on those long straights is basically taking it a little easy on entry. You just want to maximize the exit out of a corner like La Source, so you get the best run possible up the hill, because that you might lose a tenth. Just kind of being easy on the entry at the corner, but you may gain 2 or 3 tenths down the straightaway just by being able to maximize your pace up the straight.
Yeah, too, right. And if you go in slower and diamond off that corner a little bit, you get on the power sooner. And that's really what La Source is all about, getting on the power as early as possible. And it's a little bit of a balancing act. Get on it too early. These cars will spin on you. I haven't seen it so far, but as the red mist starts going and people start clawing for those extra tenths, we may see that during the race. And as expected, Stephen Case has jumped up to the top of the order right now, sitting on a 2:12.2. So it's Case from Green, from Vicroy, from Eggert, from Ganesh, and still about 6 minutes remaining. These tires are kind of just now getting into their sweet spot, and kind of hard to tell with all this traffic in this mini cars who has a draft buddy out here. But I'll tell you, if I was in this race, I would have a friend out here. We'd be on comms together, and we'd be planning making the most of this long draft, especially right here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of interesting. Jason Green out there, he's only about basically 10th of a second off the pole. He's not got a car anywhere. Remember, he's just basically out running laps by himself. And if he's running that kind of pace by himself, if he ever gets in a tow of somebody, he may just kind of vault himself up pole position by a couple of 3 tenths, and it might be hard to catch him.
Yeah, too right. And taking a look at Case there, and the name of the game is smoothness in these F3 cars, smooth inputs, and Case a maestro behind the wheel of this thing, and we'll see how he lines up Blanchimont up here. As I said, they've widened the entry, and you saw him take a little advantage of that there to take some of the drama and trauma out of that corner and see what he does in the bus stop here. This is another kind of time hole. If you get the bus stop right, you can pick up a couple tenths pretty easily. Get it wrong, you can lose a half a second in a heartbeat. And to see if Case improves that time, he does. He is tickling those 211s that I promised you, only 34 thousandths away from breaking that 212 barrier. And with 5 minutes left, pretty much guaranteed that we're going to see a couple 211s at the top of the order by the time this one's over.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it's just sitting there thinking about the bus stop chicanes. We're watching Jason Green come through here. And you're right. You want to get as close to that curb on the right-hand side as you can. And then on your exit, what kills your momentum is that outside curb. It's not necessarily, there's not a lot of grip there. So, if you're driving a GT car, they say the best way is to just get your right-hand side tires over the edge of it, so you're not trying to put traction or put power down on top of it. And I think these guys are getting away with it, but it's one of those that you have to be very careful of. You have to be very smooth on that throttle.
Yeah, and putting the power down, definitely critical, and also just kind of fighting the geometry. Like any chicane, you're kind of giving up the ideal line on the first part of that chicane in order to get a good exit from the second part, and very, very tough to do that consistently. And these cars have so much grip, everything, even in those low-speed corners, everything happening pretty fast there. And I don't know who we're looking at there. It looks like Neil Day. And that is going to end his day in terms of this lap, dipping that wheel in the grass, strict scrutiny on qualifying. So that's going to invalidate his lap. And up top, we're still looking at Case, Eggert, Mikovits, Green, and Vickeroy. And Mikovits within a stone's throw of that 211, Case within a stone's throw. And Charles, as you predicted, looks like the total interval right now as it sets, the top 15 cars are within 1 second. So that is a pretty tight field with a long lap like we have here at Spa.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of what you expect on a track like this is it's not as compact as some of the shorter tracks like we've dealt with already this season, like Montreal, where it's, you'll end up with or I say, won't even use Montreal as an example, but top tracks that are a little bit shorter, your lap times are going to be a little more compressed because obviously it's a shorter lap overall. This is just, you can see the guys are out there really trying to work together for the most part. As again, I said, Jason Green and actually Stephen Case also not really using any draft around him. It's just that's basically a solo qualifier. He's got some clean air to work with. So a lot of these guys maybe getting some hidden tints through there as they're building these poles. But it's good to be up front. I don't think the mid pack is where you're going to want to be. There's going to be lots and lots of fighting there today, and it's going to be very dangerous fighting as well, because it's only going to take one mistake, some wheel-to-wheel contact, and they end up having 4 or 5 cars wadded up in a corner somewhere.
Oh, absolutely the case. And I hesitate to use technical racing terms, but there are going to be some kerfufflery going on here at Spa, especially off the start. This is a pretty big field, 28 cars, and something about Spa gets that heart pumping, gets that red mist flowing, and coming off the start on cold tires, charging up that hill into Eau Rouge for the first time can be very, very treacherous, especially in the midfield, as you said, Charles, because it can definitely, one small mistake by one driver can lead to a big pileup. Not a lot of places to go evasive, and especially in that uphill section coming through Radion. So could be a little bit of a mess there on the start.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's plenty of room. The problem is once you get off the track, you get into the some of that runoff area, and it's not known territory, so you don't really know what to expect once you get out there. It's probably bumps and the wall here and there, and so it's always a challenge once you're off into that off-track runoff area of how the car is going to behave. So yeah, you want to keep it in between the white lines, and hopefully we'll get through this first lap and get everybody nice and safe up the hill. And then we can do some real racing after that.
Yeah, too right. And that is the checker on qualifying. So as you look at our track map right there, that 11 car is done. That 2 car is done. But the cars from 243 forward, if you cross the line before the timer hits 0, you get to finish that lap. So we get a ton of cars out there still hoping to improve their time. And as a result, this qualifying session is probably going to reach 16, 17 minutes if you're wondering why we're still rolling while past the 15-minute timer displayed up there on your screen. So we'll keep an eye on times, and looks like Case might have taken a tiny hundredth or so nibble off of his qualifying time. Is down to 2:12.015 and not able to break that 2:12 barrier. But like I said, I guarantee that you're going to see that happen during the race as fuel burns off and these cars get into draft and attack mode. And taking a look now at Tyrone De Silva trying to improve his time. We'll see how he does. Currently sitting on a 2:12.998, and he does take a couple nibbles out of that. And my goodness, just taking a tenth, less than 2/10 off of his time, and he will jump up into P12. So pretty packed field. A tenth here and a tenth there can definitely have a significant impact on your starting position.
Yeah, definitely. As we're watching the remainder of the cars come in now, most of them are all the way down on the backstretch. I see the 11 car that I believe was the first person to cross the start-finish line at the checker. So this lap will not count. Just getting a little bit of extra practice as the final few cars come in. Notice Skylar Vickroy moved up to P3 as only 3 milliseconds ahead of Kalen Mikovits in P4. So yeah, pretty tight up at the front. Like I said, all the way down to P15 within 1 second. But you know, the cars that are in that 15 to 20, as we see Jeff Shieldja. We'll get that right one of these days, Jeff. I'm sorry. Bumps up there, so he jumps into 15th position, jumping over Josh Corbin, bumping him down to 16th. So it's you know, once again, it's this is we've got the easy part done. Now it's time to do the real work, and we'll see what this first lap as we get everybody around. I think that is the last car. So we'll be rolling over into the race session, and I think that was it right there.
Yep, that was Day, and no improvement there as far as I can tell. He must have had an off track, so he is going to remain back in P29. And I'll tell you what, Charles, sometimes being in the back of a big pack like this at a place like Spa on the first lap, you could do worse. It sometimes allows you to avoid some of the kerfuffleage which may be unfolding here off of the start. And it looks like, speaking of Shieldja, looks like he may still have a valid lap going here. And where is he sitting right now? Sitting in P15, and his fast lap a 2:12.9, and doink.
Nope.
Is. They give him the hook, and it is over for him. Yeah, I didn't know if that was a valid lap or not. He was just getting a little bit more wheel time here at Spa, which is critical. So here comes your starting grid. Stephen Case, kind of as expected, gets the pole. He'll line up next to Chris Eggert. Skylar Vickroy behind them, lined up to Kalen Mikovits. In row 3, it's Jason Green next to Danush Poborji. Then Varun Bali next to Adrian Lopez in 7 and 8. Alex Velasco will line up next to Athul Ganesh in 9 and 10. Then it's Lloyd Conway next to Tyrone De Silva in row 6. And then it'll be Labivy next to Oladipo in 13 and 14. Shieldja next to Corwin. Chris Wang next to Jason Kocher. Duvall next to Snyder in 19 and 20. Then it is Gru, despicable as he is, in P21 next to Posada. Then Cardenas next to Brashear in 23 and 24. Chris Cook will line up next to Vase in 25 and 26. Then it's Hagan next to Dylan, and Neil Day next to Aaron Van Wagner, who I didn't see qualifying. I guess he is on the grid, though. So, yeah, Van Wagner will bring up the rear in 23. And we are looking at a standing start. That is Stephen Case in the 243 car on the left-hand side of your screen. He will have the inside line on the run-up into La Source hairpin for the first time. So it is not super difficult, but it's also not super easy to get these cars clean off the line. These tires are stone cold, no traction control, so it can be challenging to get them moving. So that is going to be the first challenge that these drivers are facing while we wait for the lights to come on.
Yep, still waiting on Lopez to grid up. I think he's waiting until the very last few seconds. But yeah, that's the first challenge is let's get the car off the line in a straight line, headed the right direction. we can get all 30 of those cars to cooperate, we've got a good chance of having a good start here, and we can get through turn one, hopefully.
All right, and here we go, waiting for those lights to come on. Favorable conditions, by the way. Pretty cool track, 68 degrees, and we are green. Case pretty clean off the line in his case from Eggert, from Vickeroy, from Mikovits, from Jason Green. So no position swapped, up in the top 5 off the line. And I spoke too soon. Vickeroy will sneak past Eggert. And, a little bit of wheel banging. Oh my goodness. And the big one, I see a huge pileup in La Source. And oh my goodness, Charles, that is a bummer. Unlike the F4 series, the F3 damage is on. And my timing board just lit up like the 4th of July. And there are some drivers that are having to take a tow right off the bat, and that is a real drag. And here comes Stephen Case heading into La Source for the first time. You saw him covering the inside. You saw Vickeroy sniffing around the outside, and as I said, that is going to be a critical move, and we are going to see that before this one is over. Case will lead Vickeroy, Mikovits, and Eggert down the hill into Brussels, and Case kind of leaving the inside open here. Vickeroy going to take a little peek. Vickeroy may be squeaking past. Oh, not quite. And Case manages to hold him off, but interesting to have somebody polishing Case's bumper like this early on. He usually gets a pretty good start, gets a comfortable gap behind, but it is not happening right now.
Yeah, and I did see a couple cars off. I think Old Depot was one coming through No Name. So obviously that's a kind of a treacherous. You mentioned the track configuration changes made in iRacing recently, so that it has been kind of remodeled, and caught a couple of guys out there. I saw them wide coming through there. And we'll kind of just, we got Justin Snyder. I believe Jeff Shildra has exited the session along. Oladipo has towed, De Silva has towed, and Vase has towed as well.
5 cars taking a tow and or just throwing up their hands in disgust. And I'm going to say that there are more than 5 cars involved in that, Charles, and some people may be out there driving still with damage, but Mike's going to spin up a replay here, and we'll see what happens. We're focused on Kocher right now, and oh my goodness, yeah, that is more than 5 cars. And wow, that is awfully frustrating. And pro tip, kids, I know that it's tempting when that yellow flag waves, you see a cloud of smoke, it's tempting to just floor it and try to take advantage of it. But it can be and should be heavily penalized. Yellow means slow down, be careful, not push your way through the junkyard as you're seeing here. And oh my goodness, that is really a horrible start, Charles. I'm a little surprised that this one, that is turn 1 on cold tires in a 25-minute sprint. I'm a little surprised that unfolded the way it did.
Yeah, I really, and kind of like the back half of the field just got caught up in that. You could just see carnage everywhere. Cars missing rear wings, cars missing their noses, and as you see that, I think that is Shielded there. He says, "Yep, that's it. I'm done." And so there's probably some cars out there right now that are kind of limping their way back around. So we may see a few more cars in pits. I do see Posada, Cardenas, and Cook, I think, have all came in. It took a fast repair and have gone back out. So they at least do have the fast repair available. But this is a long lap to try and drop a broken car around.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, that's what you're weighing when you're laying there looking at the wreckage, is whether or not you're going to try to limp it around or take the tow. Different tracks handle that differently. And it could, if they went all the way around, tow a flatbed around here would take forever. But we're already seeing some of those involved drivers back out on the track. I see Kocher, Group, and Van Wagner have gotten their repairs done and are back underway. But meanwhile, up front, it is Case from Vickeroy, from Eggert, Mikovits, Pavorgin, Lopez, Green, Velasco, Ganesh, and Corwin is your top 10. And if you look at our timing tower right there, folks, that's amber intervals mean that it's an interval less than half a second, and the yellow intervals are between half a second and 1 second. So the top 16 places pretty well painted with tight intervals. So this one is getting off, despite the iffy start there, getting off to some tight racing initially. And look at Vickeroy, took advantage of that draft on lap 2 and got a 2:11.997, still behind Case, but is showing what is possible if you catch a little tow down the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the pace is starting to pick up as these cars are building momentum and, getting the tires nice and toasty. And you see Victor looking to make that run. He's going to go back to the outside as Pace protects the inside line. And should be able to, from that distance, he should be able to clear him without worried about it through the corner. But no, not so. Looks like the cars, once they get out of the draft, are kind of stalling out a little bit. But he is able to make the pass, but just at the last second.
Yeah, Vickeroy there. Case was there on the inside waiting to see what Vickeroy would do. And what Vickeroy did was slam the door right in his face. And now it is Vickeroy from Case from Mikovits. I see Adrian Lopez dropping down the order like he's pulling an anchor. Something has happened to Lopez. We'll go back and see if we can sort that out. And taking a look now at Brashear exiting the bits. Here we go. Here comes Lopez. Side-by-side entry into Lacombe. And we talk about this sometimes, Charles. These cars have significant downforce, but when one side of the car gets up on the curbs, lifts that front wing up off the ground, the downforce can go away instantaneously just by the distance of the front wing from the pavement. And you might have seen the driver get caught out by that right there.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Yeah, get on that curb, get the wing jacked up, and get a little more extra air under the car. And all of a sudden, you don't have enough mechanical grip to make the corner at the speed you're running.
And here comes Vickeroy leading Case through Blanchimont here. And like I said, this is absolutely flat. And you can see the slipstream going to work there. And now Case is going to try the outside entry into the bus stop. Will he get my merit badge? Can he beat Vickeroy to second apex? And he does, but Vickeroy still gets a better drive out of the outside line. And that is the kind of action I love here at Spa. I'm not kidding. You have to have that move in your toolkit to make good things happen here. And Case almost pulled that off and is going to have another crack at it when we get to Lissource at the end of this straightaway. Oh my goodness, I love Spa. It is Vickeroy from Case, from Mikovits, from Eggert, from Poborgi when they have dropped Jason Green to about 2.5 seconds, but those top 5 cars have about 4 or 5 seconds between them, and training up nicely here. And here we go down the Kemmel Straight. Vickeroy this time, he's going to try to cover the inside. It's Case on the outside. See what kind of drive he's going to get. And they are going to side-by-side entry into Lissource. Case fighting to beat Vickeroy to that second apex and gets it done. Oh my goodness. This is going to go on, Charles, for the next 20 some odd minutes, next 18 minutes, and fantastic racing up front by Case and Vickeroy. And of course, Eggert and Mikovits, Poborgi, and Green are all hanging around there. So Eggert's got to be liking what he's seeing. If Case and Vickeroy come to blows, he's going to be in a perfect position to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eggert's already loving it because that second group was about a second and a half back. But the fighting between Case and Vickeroy through those corners has allowed that second group. So now we've got 5 cars at the front within basically 2 seconds. And so they'll continue to watch as we're coming up on some lap traffic, some of those injured cars earlier. We'll see how they're going to be able to navigate that. And then now Jason Green sitting back there in 6th is desperately hoping this fight will continue to give him a chance to get back up.
Yeah, the fighting definitely causing these cars to train up. And I'll tell you, when it comes down to the end, when you have a line of cars this close, anybody 1 through 5 could have a crack at victory here. Very easy to get twofers with this big slipstream down these long straightaways. As we see Case leading Vickeroy down into the bus stop, they're all going to take a breath here and take a normal line, go nose to tail. And it may be in their best interest right here, Charles, to breathe it here for a second, cooperate for just a second, and make sure that they're well clear of Green behind. Green wants to catch up, and that doesn't help any of them.
No, absolutely not. And yeah, that's exactly right. Is you don't want to fight side by side through multiple corners. And I think it's kind of the opposite. Normally, the guy that's leading the race on the last lap has the advantage, but I don't necessarily think it's a good thing here. There's too many opportunities for those cars behind to just draft up on you and make a pass. You're going to have to work really hard defensively at the front of this field to be able to maintain P1 through the entire lap. So maybe P2 or P3 may be the better position tonight.
Oh, and there's Vicroy trying the outside of Lusource again, slamming the door in Case's face. And Vicroy sending a message here that the door is closing, even if your fingers are in there. So you better keep them out. And Case taking a little bit of a wide path there through Brussels as we head down toward Puhan. And let's just stay with these guys for a second. And I'm really kind of doubting my driving right now. I was really having some struggles in Puhan earlier. And let's just keep an eye on those rears. And yeah, no wiggle, no nothing. So they look pretty well hooked up. So it's Vickery from Case, from Mikwitz, from Eggert. And you saw Eggert wanting to take a crack at Mikovits the last time down the Kemmel Straight. So we have a couple of pairs of cars here fighting for P1 and 2. Oh, and there's Case. Case, big problem there. And unusual place to get loose right there. Must have gotten too much curb, and Case is going to drop down into P3. And Vickeroy now is his chance. That interval, 1.5 seconds. And if he can put down a couple of heaters right now, he is going to be in the catbird seat, breaking the toe of Mikovits behind.
Yeah, he wants to make this next lap the fastest lap of the race, even if he's up there driving by himself. He wants to try and keep that draft unavailable for the cars behind. And so Case did a good job of just keeping that car out of the wall. But yeah, it was kind of a weird place. Oh, now contact. Contact between Case and Borgi, I believe.
Yeah, that was Borgi. Wanted to give Case a try down the inside of the bus stop. A little wheel contact. Thankfully, no damage there. But Case is just dropping like a stone at this point. That'll drop him down into P4. And we'll take another look at that one. Or will we? There we go. Yep. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's Case's first little incident there. Going through, I guess that's Compass there in 13 and 14. And then later on in the same lap, that's Poborgi stuffing it inside, and maybe a little optimistic, maybe going in a little hot there. But like I said, thankfully, both of those cars seem to have survived that encounter. But it's Vickeroy from Mikovits now, from Eggert, from Case, from Jason Green, who has gotten past Poborgi. So Case now looking at, my goodness, about a 4 or 5 second gap up to Vicroy. And when he took this grid here today, Charles, in pole, he had to think that he had a good crack at a victory here, but it's kind of been one thing after another 12 minutes in.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I'm sure he's kind of thinking, all right, well, let's get, now that we've got that lap out of the way, let's focus back in and get back to the purpose of what we're here for, is winning this race. So yeah, he's got work to do. Obviously, he's going to have to first get up to Eggert and get that move made. And slowly just kind of chip away. He's still got, 12.5 minutes, still half a race left. But I think the incident there in the bus stop chicane is a classic chicane error. I think Poborgi came in very, very narrow and to that first corner and wanted to try and shortcut over to the apex of the second part of that, and just basically pushed out a little wider. And Case was there and was the benefactor of the contact with the wheels.
Yeah, but Borgi definitely owing Case a little more room to his outside there. And by the way, Charles, Vicroy heeded your call for some heaters here, and he has now extended that gap to 1.7 and thrown down the fastest lap of the race with no draft. Well, though, I guess it's possible he could have caught a draft from a back marker, but 2:11.693 for Vicroy. So he heard you, and he's going for it right now. And speaking of going for it, there's some dicing going on right there. That is Conway with Wang, and that's Wang behind and Velasco ahead. And that almost got a little messy right there. I'm not really sure what was going on, but looked like somebody was struggling through Blanchimont.
Yeah, it's too wide through Blanchimont there. I'm just kind of wondering if maybe the inside car, as we're going too wide through some of these corners, is maybe getting some air pulled off of it from the car on the outside, and maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit of struggle through some of these too wide situations.
And Blanchimont, you definitely can go flat through there by yourself. And trying to go flat through there while leaving room for another car tightens up that line to the extent that, it's got to be slipping and sliding on the edge of disaster. And we're going to take a look right now. That is Velasco, and he has gotten passed by Conway. So they're having a little draft party, these three drivers. It's Conway, from Velasco, from Wang, and that fight is over P9.
Yep. And that's I think these guys will just keep doing that, and I'm sure Wang will want to get up there and say, hey, I want to get involved in this as well. Let me get up here and make a couple of passes, because that's the really fun part of racing, is when you can get those cars on a track like this and just draft and make moves, and everybody's keeping it clean and giving you racing room. And then you'll get passed again, but it's okay, because you'll have another opportunity the next time. So looks like a few of these guys in the mid pack are having a good time with the race, and just seeing where they're going to end up at the end of this. I'm watching Stephen Case hasn't really caught up very much to Eggert. He's still about 9/10 of a second back, so he's right at the edge of that draft range. I think the draft for these cars is about 1.2, I think we said. So he's right at the edge, but he's not getting really enough toe to make an impact yet. But still got time, and he's making a little bit of headway coming through the chicane for sure.
Yeah, and he is within sniffing distance. Got it down to 0.8 there in the bus stop, and if he gets a good drive out of the source down here, he will be all over Eggert by the time they get to the end of the Kemmel Straight. So definitely a bonus of driving it. Oh, and there we go. My goodness, Eggert getting camera shy there, and laying down the power a little too strongly coming out of the source. Lights up those rear tires, and Case back up into P3, and now Case looking at a very difficult 3.2 second gap to even get close to Mikovits and Vickeroy, 5 seconds away at this point. And Case would love to know what is in his head right now. Oh, and by the way, Eggert's still right with you, and he's going to try that outside entry into the source. They're side by side through the first corner, through the second corner, and Case is going to have the advantage into Lacombe. They're still side by side heading down into Brussels, and Case will cover the inside. But Eggert not laying down after making that small error and letting Case through. He's letting Case know that his car still feels fine. The tires feel good, and I'm ready to keep fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought he was going to make a move coming out of Lacombe there. That right-hander, they just kind of crossed him over, and was like, oh, is he going to make him run down here? And just couldn't quite do it. But yeah, he's definitely keeping Case's mirrors full. That's for sure.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And a pretty good run. What are we looking at right here? It looks like Lopez now, and he is in quite a fight. Look at those intervals. It's Wang from Lopez, Velasco, Duvall, and Dillon. That is 5 cars with just a couple of ticks between them. And as Mike shows us the positions lost and gained in this one so far, how about Dillon moving up from P28? He's picked up 14 positions in P14. And whoops, he saw somebody in the kitty litter there. And sure, some of those were due to incidents, but you know that there were some legit passes in there as well. So Dillon putting in a good drive. And meanwhile, like I said up front, it's still Vickeroy from Mikovits from Case. And Vickeroy doing a good job managing that gap. It's about 1.6 behind. Jumping back to Velasco. Now he's got Adam Duvall behind, heading down to the bus stop, and behind Duvall is Dillon. And those cars are super trained up, and they are going to be trained up coming down through Eau Rouge and onto the Kemmel Straight. So more fighting ahead, and action-packed as we're expecting here at Spa. 18 minutes and about 7 remaining. A lap 9 just getting underway.
Yeah, and I just kind of looked at the timing and scoring, and Dillon's last lap was about a second faster than the guys in front, Duvall and Velasco. And so, all that fighting between those, as you see, that car's had some modifications made to it, and he's still out there running. That's Velasco's car. Looks like it's missing the side pod there on the left-hand side. I'm not really sure I've ever seen that before. Yeah, it's completely missing the side pod and the cover. So obviously running some advanced aero techniques here, and but managing to keep up in the top half of the field.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Mike pointing out maybe some additional cooling, but man, he looked pretty wiggly there, man. Those side pods are not just for looks. They do have aero function, and a big wiggle there makes you wonder if that car is going to be able to keep driving like that for the next 6 minutes. And we're going to take a look at Brashear taking a run at Cook, coming off of that Kemmel Straight into Combs. Oh, and that just went all kinds of bad. The Cook over rotating there and kind of washing out of the first part and spinning across the track into Brashear. So Brashear thought he had something going there, and I think he might have ended up losing a couple positions as there was some traffic coming in from behind.
The slightest touch by Cook there into the back left wheel of Brashear was all it took to spin the car around, and you could just see how much the mechanical grip plays a part in these cars making these corners, because it was the slightest of taps. It was the very tip of the nose of Cook's car, and just enough to send Brashear around.
And looks like Mikovits has kind of lit the wick here. He's down to a 2:11.7. And that is 2:43. That is Case and Eggert, actually, that we're watching right there. Eggert got about a 3/10 gap up to Case. So Case not able to get away with that lap. Get away on that last lap is going to have to deal with Eggert coming up behind again this time and see what kind of defense he wants to employ. He's going to leave the inside open this time, and he may just let Eggert through here. And one thing we haven't mentioned here, Charles, we definitely saw tire wear playing a role in our previous 2 rounds. And whoa, and Eggert taking a little visit through the kitty litter, lucky to save that one. And it looked like Case was going to let him through, but Case didn't. Case went ahead and followed that J-hard line, deep braking in the outside entry, and kept Eggert honest, and you saw the result there. Eggert going off.
Yeah, just a little bit too wide coming through the Coon, and just it seems like every time Eggert gets a good run, is able to get by Case, and it's a little mistake, and it doesn't take much, and then he's back again, and so now the chase is back on for Eggert to try and track down Case, and that gap up to P2 is up to almost 6 seconds. So the 2 guys in front have absolutely checked out. So it's Victor and Mikovits, and that looks like it's going to be the battle for the win.
Yeah, and how about Mikovits? He managed to take a couple of huge bites out of Vicroy there. Vicroy had that gap to, I'm going to say it was 2 point something. So Mikovits somehow taking about 2 seconds out of Vicroy. Vicroy may have had an error somewhere along the line. Mikovits putting in some hot laps here, though. And look at that interval dropping now. It's down to half a second. Look at him close under braking into the bus stop. And wow. We're going to see some action between these two on this lap. But what I was going to say, Charles, is I don't generally consider Spa a heavy tire wear track, but with all this fighting and side by side and bobbing and weaving, are we going to see tire wear rear its head down the stretch here? We definitely saw it in the last 5 minutes of our previous 2 rounds, and we're seeing some wiggling and some trips into the kitty litter. I'm wondering if it's going to happen again here.
I think you may be right. I think we're starting to see some of the guys slipping and sliding a little bit, because you are putting a lot of work into those rear tires. Even at a track like this, they've got to get that corner, and you're just expecting them to just lock down when you get back on the throttle. And we've seen the spins, especially back on throttle, coming out of some of the corners, which is not doing these cars any favors. So yeah, it's definitely possible. And we were really close there to a white flag. I think we were just off of it, but I did not get to see the flag mats. I don't know for sure, but it's going to be close when we get back to the line.
Yeah, we may. This may be an extended race here due to the length of the laps here at Spa, and if Vicroy didn't get the white that time through, but Vicroy definitely starting to look a little loose here, and I think Mikovits tipping his hand. He backed out of that run down the Kemmel Straight. Charles, as you pointed out, he does not want to be in the lead on the last lap. So I think what he's going to do right now is lay in wait here in P2 behind Vicroy, and he's calculating when the best time to make that pass is going to be, where it's going to happen, but he's saving it up for the last lap right now.
Yeah, you'll know if this is the white flag lap or not, because he'll make a move going to the bus stop. So if not, he's just going to kind of lay back here, and he'll wait for the next run, whether that's either coming up the Kemmel or in the bus stop for the next lap. But you see he's right on the tail of Vicroy there.
Yeah, and a little peek around the outside here. And does he try to stick it in? He does. And he's going to beat Vicroy to that second apex, and that's the move I was talking about. And Mitrovic manages to get it done, but Vicroy is going to have the inside line into the source here, and you see Mikovic try to squeeze him a little bit there before jumping out to take the normal line, and somehow Vicroy gets out of that in P1. Sort of. The car is still overlapping. Are we going to get a side-by-side run into Eau Rouge for the lead? And this is racing, folks. Oh my goodness, we have graduated high school. We are now firmly in college. It's Mikovic from Vicroy from Case, and now it's Mikovic and Vicroy are side by side. That's Mikovic in the 76 car on the inside, and Vicroy again trying that outside entry. Good respectful racing here, staying side by side, and Mikovic pulls through it. So Mikovic making it happen here, but did I speak too soon? He's gonna have to move over and cover the inside of Brussels, and hanging on, and the tires are starting to fail, folks. I'm seeing a lot of wiggling there, and Case meanwhile about 4 seconds back, not going to be a factor in this fight, but it's Mikovic from Vicroy with about a 2-second gap heading into Puhan for the last time. Not to jinx him, but this is a spot on the track that is fraught with danger, and to get through Puhan, go through 13, 14, 15, and 16. And I told you that that Stavelot corner and Paul Frere, critical to get a good launch out of there for both drivers. Oh my goodness. And Mikovic's running a little wide there. Tires starting to scream, and here is where you have to nail this exit and get this corner absolutely perfectly as we blast down this back straight for the final time. And Vicroy all over Mikovic like the plastic on grandma's couch. They are side by side now. They're going to be side by side through Blanchimont. Vicroy has gotten through here. Vicroy has gotten through. Mikovic tucks in behind. Will Mikovic have one last dive into the bus stop? And Vicroy will cover the inside. It's Mikovic going to try the outside. A huge slide by Vicroy, and Mikovic as 1/10 ahead at the line. It is a photo finish. Mikovic wins it by 0.135. Stephen Case will come across the line a couple of seconds later for P3. And there you go, folks. Welcome to Formula 3 racing on slow motion broadcasting at Spa. It is everything that I was hoping for, everything I was wishing for, and my goodness, we got it in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. Great last lap battle between Mikovic and Vicroy. You could just see it. They both wanted to win. They both tried to play out a strategy of making moves at a critical time. But I think Mikovic got that. He did it the lap prior, was that move on the outside going through bus stop. He did it once. He said, you know what? I did it last lap. I can do it again this lap. And just a little wiggle by Vicroy was all it took to give him that 1/10 of advantage to win this race. And we see Dylan coming across the line with no nose. It'll be to the plastic surgeons for some rhinoplasty here after the race, and gets the job done, finishing in 16th. As we see Brashear, and I believe that was Chris Cook, I think it was, finishing in 19th, 20th, battling all the way to the end, even for the 19th and 20th positions on the track.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what you'll see in this series as well. These drivers are going to be fighting like if it's for P1 all the way up and down the grid. And man, oh man, I told you folks that that outside entry against an inside defense into Lacombe's and into the bus stop were going to be critical. And you saw a driver take that. You saw Mikovic make that a P1 mastery of that move into the bus stop. So fantastic stuff here at Spa. We're watching Van Wagner now coming through the bus stop. A couple of cars left out there. We got Van Wagner, and that's Gru coming up behind him, and a couple cars out at the bottom of the timing screen. But man, what a fantastic race. 13 laps at Spa, and it was just every bit as action-packed as I was anticipating. And I'm going to take a peek out here, and we are going to have a couple of drivers in with us. Yeah, looks like we've got Kocher and your winner Mikovits out there, as luck would have it. So we'll be speaking to them in just 1 second, but let's go ahead and look at those race results, and we'll scroll those up for you. It is Mikovits after a mega battle and chasing down Vicroy at the end. That was an absolutely huge move by him, and a huge pass for the win in the bus stop at the end. That was absolutely fantastic. Mikovits is going to take the win from Vicroy after a hard-fought battle. Stephen Case, everything working against him. A bit of a recovery drive, really, from him. He ends up in P3. Then it's going to be Chris Eggert, followed by Jason Green, rounding out the top 5. Then Danush Poborshi. Josh Corwin makes it up to P7. Conway in P8. Lopez will be in P9. Lebivi will round out your top 10. Then it's Chris Wang from Adam Duvall, Alex Velasco, Athul Ganesh, Tyler Hagan in P15. Then Dylan Cardenas Bali. And we'll give that just a little scroll. And it's Thomas Brashear, Chris Cook there. You saw him fighting all the way down to the end. Jason Kocher in P21, Van Wagner in 22, Gru Snyder. Now we're getting into the cars that parked it. I think Posada, Oladipo, and Da Silva all parked it there in 27, 28, 29. And Vay's also involved in that lap 1, turn 1 tragedy that we saw at the beginning of this one. So, wow, Charles. Oh, man. I was looking forward to this as soon as I saw it on the schedule, and it absolutely did not disappoint. But let's go ahead and bring in the victor here. This is Kalen Mikovits, who won this one, qualified in P4. So he made it all the way up through some very fast drivers from P4 all the way to P1. And Kalen, we were talking about racing at Spa, and it's my theory that in order to make something happen at Spa, you have to be able to take the outside line into these chicanes to defeat an inside defense, and you absolutely demonstrated that beautifully when it counted on the last lap. So just describe how that last lap went for you. That was some epic driving, actually, by both you and Vicroy.
So the last lap, actually, it started the lap before that because Skylar did the exact same defense on the inside, and I was able to hook it around the outside and then inside the very same way. So I kind of knew that line was going to work. And then coming down to the last lap, no, through that lap, we were side by side through there, and then through turn 1, and then almost side by side through Erosion Radion, but he backed out to take the draft back on the backstretch. So I defended the inside and was able to break really, really deep and keep it, and then I kept the position for the rest of the lap. And then going into the backstretch, he passed me on the inside of the fourth and third last corner, and then he switched it around to do the inside defense again. So right there, I thought, okay, maybe I'll dummy the outside and go inside, but I thought that would be too aggressive. So I thought, let's just break even later. And I broke even later. Brake bias was way too far back. I was counter steering, hoping to make the corner, snapped it, turned back in, gassed it, and I knew once I had that second apex of a chicane, I could just floor it and I'd be good. So that was an amazing race. Kudos to Skylar. I think he drove a really good race. I was kind of lucky to catch up to him, and I'm really thankful that he, raced me clean, and that was really, really fun.
Yeah, and I know you're going to go back and watch the broadcast, but we're showing the two of you right now drifting through Lacombe side by side in slow motion, and as you're describing it, so pretty epic work by Mike Braun, our producer. But two right, and the two of you were both drifting through the bus stop on that last lap, and really great driving by both of you. I mean, that could have ended in tears at a number of different spots, and a really good, clean, respectful driving by both of you. So tip of the hat to both of you for that. And my goodness, what a fantastic race. And we got Sebring coming up next, I believe. So do you have any thoughts about hitting the bumpy tarmac down in Florida next week?
I have no thoughts because I've never driven that before on any car. I know it's kind of bumpy. I know there's a hairpin where people try to like to smash each other in GT3 in real life. So I'm gonna have to put in a bit of practice and try to figure out that track. And I'm not hoping for a podium again. I'm just hoping like maybe I'll get a top 5. I know Adam Duvall, my teammate, did a really good finish the past few races. So I think if we just keep it consistent, we'll get through it.
All right. Well, fair. And Kalen, a fantastic drive again. Congratulations on the victory. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
I'd like to give a shout out to the SME team. You guys keep it really interesting, provide some really great commentary, and I think I really enjoy watching the broadcast after every race just to see how others' races went. So thank you so much for your great coverage.
All right. Well, it is our pleasure, Kalen, and you got plenty of camera time in this one, so you are going to enjoy that replay. So I will let you to it, and again, congrats on that P1.
Thanks.
All right, that was your winner, Kalen Mikovits, kind of perfectly describing his last lap dicing with Vicroy there. And that was some truly epic racing, and I hope representative of what the rest of this season is going to be like. And I don't really have reason to doubt that it will. So let's go ahead and go now. Charles, let me go ahead and grab Diego Posada in for you.
All right. Diego, welcome in. Not probably the day that you wanted there. Looks like you were involved in that lap 1 incident. So just after that, it was do the best you can with what you had. So if you would just kind of go through your perspective on the incident there in La Source on lap 1.
Well, I can't even really say what's happened. I watched it back like 5 times because I was obviously out of the race at the second half, but I still couldn't tell you exactly what happened. But definitely stings a little bit, coming from the no damage to a damage on thing. It feels a little painful when you have moments like this. But yeah, after that, I was able to get back to the pits and get my car repaired. And then a few laps later, when I was in no man's land, I took myself completely out. And then the car was too damaged to be repaired. So I watched the race from the pits, the second half, with my tail between my legs.
Yeah, that happens from time to time. I mean, we're just kind of watching the replay now. It's just everybody stacked up going into one, and it's really just at that point, there's not really much you can do about it. Is just kind of pray and hope that you don't get hit. Yeah,
Justin's car bounced and zigged instead of zagged, and I don't know. Yeah, it is what it is. There's always next week. We'll get her.
Yeah, we'll get her. There you go. And speaking of next week, Sebring next week, have you managed to turn some laps there in the F3 car?
Yeah, we did it like a practice session of that last season, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's a fun track.
Yeah, it really is. I've driven. I enjoy driving the F3, and that is absolutely one of my favorites. So I know it's going to be a great race. Well, Diego, thank you for stopping in tonight. We'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before you go.
Thanks to you guys, and thanks to Jason hosting this every week. It's a ton of fun. I've been coming here for a couple of years now, and I hope it goes on forever.
There you go. Thank you, Diego. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.
You too.
That was Diego
Posada.
Yeah, Posada. Sorry, lost my mind there just for a second. Let's go ahead now and talk to Jason Kocher. Jason, I'm taking a look at you on the leaderboard here. Looks like you only lost 3 positions down to P21 in this one. So I'm guessing that you somehow managed to get through that lap 1 incident, or did you not?
No, that's why I was back there. There was a little over aggression on multiple people's part there, and I got a guy come from the outside and swing across the front of me and knock my wing off. So that tends to be detrimental to results. I'll tell you, these interviews are a lot more fun after you've had a great race. I sped into pit lane and read a bit of a book there while I was serving my penalty, and then by the time I got back out there, it was a test day. But looks like Discord is blowing up, and there were guys out there that had a good time, and hopefully at the front there was some good racing to watch, because I was just kicking around playing with brake bias and stuff in 21st. So I had a great start at Imola, got beat up a little bit last week at Imola, and then didn't get a great qualifying this time. So kind of put myself in the soup, and my buddy Alex was saying, hey, pit lane start, which I don't know. Every time I start from pit lane, everything goes fine, and I'm back there wondering why I did that. And now every time I think, oh, it's fine, I'm next to the two guys that I got tangled up with last week. What could possibly go wrong? I seem to find out. But that's racing, and yeah, I mean, always a great combination with Spa and F3. So looking forward to the races to come.
And might need a little review on the meaning of the yellow flag. Some people think it means take advantage of the situation and floor it, and I think that's what happened to you as we just watched you get collected there in slow motion as you were describing that incident. But yeah, as you were wondering, the racing at the front was absolutely off the hook. It was an incredible race, and I know that you're going to love watching the replay. So I will let you settle down and crack a beverage and get to that. But as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm grateful for that. We do, most of us love turning the race on afterwards. It's always a great show. You guys do a great job. We appreciate you. My parents, as I've said before, helped me get this thing started, has brought a lot of joy to a lot of people at a time when there's a lot to be frustrated about going on in the world and with our nation. So always grateful for that, and the community, to enjoy it and participate makes it possible, and gives us something to look forward to on a week to week basis. So always grateful for that. And it's my friend Florian used to say, after the last one is before the next one. So we'll lick the wounds and get ready for Sebring next week. But always appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for stopping by. And that was Jason Kocher. And Charles, we got one more driver waiting to talk to us, and I'll bring in Thomas Brashear.
Thomas, welcome into the broadcast booth. So looking at yours, and you finished 19th, kind of looks like you were involved in that turn one incident as well. So as we see you here, we're getting the replay where you're kind of on the outside, and the next thing you know, there's cars where they weren't there before, and you just kind of ended up in the middle of it.
Yeah, 100%. Howdy, guys. And that first debacle in the beginning was definitely interesting. I think I got rear-ended, like I got tapped in the beginning, which kind of threw me forward. And then as I made that turn, I saw two cars sideways. A car was going over another. My buddy to my left had some unfortunate thing happen to him. So it was kind of like survive. I went onto the gravel, and then I almost had a really bad rear entry coming back in. I wasn't on, when I was watching the replay, I was on the brakes, but my momentum kept me going forward. So luckily I didn't ruin anyone else's race, but it was definitely a spectacle to see.
Yeah, it was from our perspective as well. But you ended up finishing 19th. You were up 5 positions, and we caught the end of the race, and you were having a quite a good battle there with Chris Cook on that last lap.
Yeah, I had an incident with him prior at, I believe, Les Combs.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to claw my way back. I saw towards the last lap he made a mistake, so I was like, it's do or die for me. And at the end, I was like, I just lay it on the brakes, pray my wheels aren't shot, and see if I can make it. And I made it, so that put a smile on my face. I got one place higher, but I know for myself, I should have probably done a little better. I pitted early in the race because I thought I had some damage that shouldn't have. So that was like my biggest mistake. But overall, I'm pretty confident in myself for today.
Awesome. So next week we have Sebring, and have you managed to run any laps there? What do you think about the combination?
Yes, I am a fantasy ring. I know it's bumpy as heck, but for some odd reason, I just enjoy the track a lot. I've done it in this F3 car twice before, so I believe I am pretty confident. I know as the standings go, I know I'm probably going to be in the back, but if I just stay consistent and don't have to pit and don't crash, I think I can get some places.
There you go. That's a recipe for success if I've ever heard one. So Thomas, thank you very much for stopping by. We'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before you go. We'll see you next week.
My pleasure. I just want to actually thank you guys. You guys put on a excellent broadcast, and I always watch you guys at the end of when I get home and other future broadcasts from there.
Cool. Thank you, Thomas. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right, and that was Thomas Brashear as we wrap up another fantastic Formula 3 race from Sim Racers Group. Absolutely incredible stuff. But we are not just about these fantastic open wheelers here at SMB. Tomorrow night, I want you to join us for the USRA special. It's an ARCA 160 lap race at Daytona with cash prizes, and there are the details there. It's going to be broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting at 8 p.m. Eastern. But that is not all for the upcoming week. Saturday, we'll have Weekend Warrior Formula V's at Summit Point, followed by Ron's Race Nights. That's going to see the iRacing official top split action with street stock cars at Martinsville. And then on Sunday, Weekend Warrior Spec Racer Fords will throw down at the Hungaro Ring. And if you enjoyed this open wheel action, join us back here next Tuesday for Sim Racers Group Formula 4. That is the feeder series for what you watched tonight. And as you heard mentioned, 1 week from tonight, these cars are going to be attacking the bumpy tarmac at Sebring, and you are not going to want to miss that. If tonight's race is any indication, this series in its inaugural run is only going to get better. So I am J.R. Gregory. On behalf of myself, my partner Charles Michelle, our producer Mike Braun, and everybody else here at SMB, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and hang on, baby. Friday's coming.